Hi, I'm Andy and welcome to a WatchCrave video. Today we will be having a look at a pretty interesting watch, the Pierre Paulin Levee. I got this watch during one of the AliExpress sales last year, but haven't gotten around to reviewing it. This watch is what I would call an original homage. It's not a complete copy and paste of a design like a lot of homages out there, but it's definitely been inspired by the likes of the JLC Master Control, especially for the silver dial variation. In case you haven't heard of Pierre Paulin, he was a famous French designer. My bad, they are a Chinese watch brand that has no relation to that famous French designer, but is a sub-brand of Merkur, another Chinese watch brand. As of this video, there are a few dial options for this watch. First we have the salmon dial, along with the silver dial, then a blue, green, brown, purple, and a pink dial. You also have the options of getting these in either 36mm or 38mm case size. The watch in this video is a 38mm salmon dial. For the price, these watches currently retail for around $90 to $120 US. You can get them from the Merkur official AliExpress store, their website, or many other distributors. As I always say, buy them during a sale to save a bit of cash and make your money's worth. For the packaging, the watch comes in an interesting looking hardshell EVA case decorated with the brand's logo. Along with the case, you also get a cleaning cloth and a manual in multiple languages. Next up, let's have a look at the specs and dimensions of the watch. The watch has a diameter of 38mm, it is 13mm thick, including the watch glass. The lug width is 20mm. The lug-to-lug distance measures at just under 46mm. For the watch glass, Merkur states that the watch comes with a dome hardlex crystal, which is essentially a mineral crystal. There doesn't seem to be any AR coating applied, but honestly, this watch doesn't need it. The water resistance is rated at 50 meters, which makes sense as the crown is a screw down. On the stock suede leather strap, the watch weighs in at 69 grams. Finally, the watch is powered by a mysterious in-house Merkur movement. I couldn't find much information around this movement, but I believe it may be one of the Tongji movements. The Tongji, also known as a Chinese standard movement, was developed in the 70s and follow a set of base criteria. It needs to have at least 17 joules, have a beat rate of 3 Hz or 21,600 beats per hour, a power reserve of 40 hours, and an accuracy range of minus to plus 30 seconds per day. These criteria would then be applied on both the manual and automatic versions of this movement. The watch here features a hand wound movement. One thing to note is that the second hand does not hack when you pull out the crown. For accuracy, I measured the watch running at around plus 22 seconds per day. Not the best readings, but it is within the accuracy range. It probably just needs to be adjusted slightly. Moving on to the design of the watch, for the case we have a stainless steel case with an overall brush finish. There are no fancy chamfered edges, but the lugs do have a slight bevel to them. They are also dual, which I think is unnecessary, given that this is a sort of a dress watch. We do, however, have an interesting bezel design. Instead of the usual flat or bevel bezel, we have a 2 tiers flat bezel. It's an interesting design choice that makes this watch look less dressy and more rugged. On top of the case, we have a dome mineral crystal that's beautiful to look at from any angles. This is probably one of the things I like the most about this watch. One thing I do have to point out is that the edges of the case and bezel do feel a bit sharp, making the watch somewhat unpleasant to touch. This shouldn't affect your wrist comfort though, but it would have been better if the edges had been rounded off a bit more. For the back of the case, we have a screw-down caseback that is also brush finish. The caseback is laser printed with a big lion head logo, along with some decorative text. There's also a GPS coordinate, which I believe is the location of the Merkur HQ. For the crown, we have a coin edge push and pull crown. The crown is polished and also signed. I feel like it should have been brush finished to match with the rest of the case. On the upside, the crown is easy to grip and the winding action is very smooth. For the watch strap, the watch comes with a grey suede leather strap. The buckle is signed with a Merkur Watch Group text on the back. The strap is very soft and quite comfortable to wear, and also has quick release spring bars built in, so it's very easy to remove if you want to chuck on a different strap. Next up is the dial. This is really the selling point of this watch. We have a bronze salmon-like color dial that is divided into 2 sections. An outer section that has a radial brush finish and an inner matte finish center. The markers on the outer sections are painted black and has an enamel-like shine to them. Below the 12 o'clock and inside the inner part, we have the brand's logo and the name of the watch model printed with black text. At the 6 o'clock position, we have a sub-dial for the seconds. The sub-dial is slightly recessed and also very well finished. For the hands, we have a set of hollow syringe hands for the hour and minute, along with a small needle hand for the second. The hands look to have been heated blue instead of chemically painted. Heated blue hands are something that is only found in expensive and higher tier watches, so it's quite amazing to get something like this on a watch costing only around $100 US. The tip of the minute hand also has a slight downward curve. Once again, this is something that's often seen on more expensive watches. It's an extra attention to details aspect, as it helps with reading the time more accurately. Finally, at the edge of the dial, we have a railroad-style chapter ring printed in black. Overall, the dial is indeed quite superb for a watch at this price range. In terms of wrist fit, the watch looks pretty good on my 6.2-inch wrist. It is also quite comfortable to wear, thanks to the soft watch strap. However, I do think that the 36mm is probably the better fit, as this 38mm looks a little bit too big for my wrist. I reckon if you have a wrist size smaller than 6.5 inches, go for the 36mm, otherwise the 38mm is your better fitting option. So, what do I think about this watch? Well, it is a pretty good looking watch at a very attractive price point. For the pros, I reckon the best thing about this watch is the dial. It's a well-finished sector dial with an awesome salmon-like color. Combining that with the blue hands, and we've got a dial in a watch that the Swiss would be more than happy to slap a price tag of at least $1,000 to. On top of that, we've also got a rather beautiful dome watch glass that accentuate the dial even more. A shame it's not sapphire though, as mineral glass is not very scratch resistant. The other aspect I'm quite pleased with is the crown. It's easy to grip and silky smooth to operate. The leather strap that comes with the watch is also not too bad and fairly comfortable. As for the cons, I don't have any particular complaints about the watch, but there are some areas I reckon can be improved or changed slightly. The first is the watch glass. It's beautiful, but it's also mineral. Once scratched, it's quite hard to buff out the scratches on a mineral glass. I would have preferred a scratch-resistant sapphire glass, or even an acrylic glass where it's easier to buff out the scratches. The second is the crown. It really should be brush finished similar to the case for the sake of consistency. Next is the bezel. This is very much a my taste thing, but I'm not a fan of this 2-tier flat bezel. I think I would have preferred the traditional bevel bezel, which would help make the watch look more classy and more comfortable to touch. Overall though, I think the watch offers great value for the price, and it's probably one of the very few affordable options out there if you're looking for a watch with a sector dial. And that brings us to the end of this video. What do you think about this watch? Are you interested in getting your hands on one? If you already got one, what are your thoughts about the watch? Feel free to drop a comment down below and let us know. I hope this video helped you in some ways. If you find it enjoyable or helpful, please drop a like and subscribe for future videos. As a growing channel, I really appreciate your support. Until next time!